Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. My name is Chris Alaimo.
And I'm Ben Gasaway. Together, we are the Amateur Investors.
This podcast is our open source journal of everything we learn about investing and wealth management.
We're here to explore the key concepts, market dynamics, and investing strategies that will assist you on the path toward financial independence and financial literacy. Our mission is to build us up from amateurs to experts.
All suggestions are our own, and we recommend that you do your own research before taking any investment advice. See you in this week's episode. We hope you enjoy it. Welcome to the show. This is episode 46. This episode, I'll be interviewing HODL Tarantula, as he's known by, or his pseudonymous name on Twitter. First, a big shout out to our sponsors at CoinBeast Media. That's actually how HODL and I got connected. They have a wealth of information, all things Bitcoin on their website, from links about where to buy Bitcoin, what's the best hot and cold wallets for self-custody of your Bitcoin, potential risks of Bitcoin, and much more. It's been a pleasure partnering with them to bring an episode a month every couple months for these next few months leading up. Please check out episode 42 with Adam O, aka Denver Bitcoin, on Twitter about Bitcoin mining. And we're going to keep expanding on that topic with HODL Tarantula here. So HODL, after studying automation and robotics, HODL Tarantula became a technical entrepreneur. In 2017, he discovered Bitcoin and studied blockchain scalability and foundations in distributed systems. He then took the initiative to build his own mining company, where he learned how to deploy, operate, and repair mining equipment. He is now the CTO of Midstream, which is a mining company that allows natural gas producers to use stranded energy to mine Bitcoin. HODL Tarantula has extensive experience in all aspects of mining and is regarded as a pioneer in the mining space. HODL, thanks for coming on the show today.
Hey, thanks for having me, and thanks for the tremendous introduction.
Yeah, no problem. So I'm really excited to have you here. Kind of a common question that I ask most of the Bitcoiners in the community. So I guess, how did you get into Bitcoin? How did you find it? What were your touch points, and what ultimately led you into investing into it and just looking at it as a real asset class?
Early in 17, I kind of fell prey to the Kaka coins, a little bit there.
Yes.
And so fortunately, I didn't fully succumb to that. But what I saw in my foray into that was that Bitcoin was the common denominator in regards to what they would accept, right? This was back then. They didn't want like my debit card or my checking account or any of that information. They wanted me to just buy Bitcoin and then send that in exchange for whatever garbage was supposed to like help me to make a lot of money. So I saw that as a thing that I needed to research more. Like, why is that the only thing that they want? And because when things started going south in the ICO days back then in 17, I was fortunate enough to jump out of that bid and fortunately not get scathed too badly. I mean, I was able to recover from that, and I noticed that with the only thing they wanted being Bitcoin, that why would I not look further into this? So then I started going down the rabbit hole, I guess you could say. I got into BitcoinTalk.org forums, and just could see that it's just everything else is just a caca coin casino. I'm trying not to curse too much here, but it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
But I mean, anyways, so I mean, I saw that, and I went into reading about it through my own research and everything. And I mean, pretty much just went down the rabbit hole. I mean, I became an economist. I became informant, smart on the banking cartels. I started looking into, oversized, disgusting government. It's just like a whole new world opened up to me when I got involved with Bitcoin. And it doesn't seem to slow down.
No, yeah, that's definitely for sure. Going down the rabbit hole is a big part of that.
I mean, I'm still learning. Every day I learn something new about like a system that is constantly trying to cheat us in regards to like the old fiat legacy system, and then I'm always learning more about Bitcoin and with Lightning and the way that's growing, the Lightning network, and the way ASIC equipment is advancing in regards to its efficiency, going from like 7 nm chips to 5 nm chips to 3, and everything else with the future and everything. So it's, we're always learning, and that's one thing I love about Bitcoin as well. It forces us to better ourselves, because if we're not consistently learning what's new and what's going on, then it's it's difficult to keep your head above the water. You know what I'm saying? You want to stay on top.
Absolutely. I completely agree. As American HODL, another one of the pseudonymous creators, I know he's kind of more revealed his identity, or at least we've seen what he looks like. I know he was in a podcast back in either January or February. He says, altcoins love Bitcoin too. They just love your Bitcoin. And I thought that just ties in very nicely to said back in the 2017 ICO phase, when they didn't want your fiat. They wanted you to send them Bitcoin in exchange for whatever token, currency, or whatever altcoin that they had generated themselves.
That's right. That's all they're doing. That's all that stuff is made for. It's just designed to take your Bitcoin. So
Yeah.
I don't subscribe to it. A lot of people think I'm one way, but I'm a Bitcoin maximalist, and if you don't like it, sorry. Not sorry.
Yeah, it's really funny. Even Vitalik Buterin, which I won't give him too much of a platform here, but it's really funny. It's, not look at what they say, but what they do. I know when he needed money, people have said that he has Bitcoin in an address that still hasn't moved, but he easily sells his Ethereum. So if you're looking at two assets and one is more beneficial than another one, why would you sell your more pristine asset versus your less pristine asset in order to raise money to do something? So it just seems very funny that, and then he's obviously come out and said, oh yeah, I've done this, that, and the other thing. But luckily with, a blockchain or any of the cryptocurrencies, you can, verify, you don't have to trust. So it's just very funny that, when he looks to move money or get money, people won't criticize him for that. Or they give him a pass. It's like, why would he sell his Ethereum if he thought it was more valuable than Bitcoin? Like, just look at what he does. So I'll just leave it there on that. Like I said, don't want to give him too much of a platform, but just funny thing that I've noticed. So I guess I want to get starting off with the difference between nodes and miners. And I know Adam gave a good description of it in episode 42, but I like hearing just different perspectives. I know when I set up my node, my parents were like, oh, so you're mining Bitcoin. I was like, well, not really. That's not how it is. I'm kind of verifying and setting up lightning channels and all that. But they were like, they were kind of asking about what's a node compared to a Bitcoin miner.
So, and this is one of the things that I love about Bitcoin. And so I also, in one of the things that once I learned more about it, I really wanted to embrace it more so and get as deep as I possibly could and immerse myself in it. My background is with automation and with the distributed systems and robotics and everything. And well, Bitcoin is a distributed system. It works through automation, and well, I'm working on putting robots out into my data centers, so to speak, right now. So
That's awesome.
The whole thing is just coming together really well for me in regards to my skill sets. A node is just like it's a computer that holds a full copy of the Bitcoin blockchain. I mean, it's the ledger, it contains complete transaction history of all the previous Bitcoin transaction, and like by referencing that information, your node, it's what you use to verify your Bitcoin, your custody Bitcoin, its legitimacy, and the transactions and everything. And nodes also ensure that the sender of transaction is not spending the same Bitcoin twice, and that didn't create a thin air, pretty much, if that's kind of a simple way to put it. Also, a node acts as a wallet. It generates private keys, and it's used to send and receive Bitcoin as it's verified on your node versus a third party like a Ledger or Nano X. So, like, that's one thing about a node that's important, is that with a node, when you run your own node and you are sending and receiving Bitcoin, you're verifying that against your own copy of that blockchain. Now, if you're using a Ledger or a Nano or like another wallet or something, and you don't have it connected to your own node, you're using somebody else's node to verify the transactions and everything on that hardware device or on that wallet. And so as a Bitcoiner, that's a no-no. We verify, we don't trust. And so when it's important to run your own nodes so that you don't have to trust somebody else's to verify things for you. And so that's pretty much what a node is in simple terms. And I don't know if I can make it any simpler than that.
Yeah, definitely. And no, I think that makes a lot of sense. I know we offer a service that we build people's own nodes. I know, that's contrary to what the Bitcoiners want, more don't trust, verify, but we're willing to do the service or I even keep it very open and honest. Like, these are the parts I'm buying. This is how I build it. And I made a video how to do it. So even if you don't want to go through our service, you just want to buy the parts. I think I still need to link the parts in there, but I say on the list, like, buy these parts. This is how I built it. This is
being open about it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the base part. You be open about it, your sources and everything, and then you provide your signatures. At this point, the individual does their own due diligence, in building. So
exactly.
I don't see anything wrong with that, really. I have to buy my own hardware from different places to assemble my equipment that I run software on and everything. So I mean, what am I supposed to do? Build my own solid state drives? And like, no, that's not realistic.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's be realistic here, okay? If you're going to provide a service and be open about it and your sources and everything, I don't see an issue with that. Or, I mean, you just got to make sure that when you obtain the equipment yourself, you can, do all the proper checks and everything, go through it, make sure you know how to check signatures and all that before you just go sending all your Bitcoin out there too.
Exactly. So I guess if you want to explain to our audience, I know Bitcoin mining in simple terms. So I know that it's basically using the SHA-256 algorithm, which is Bitcoin miners are trying to solve a complex problem. I know people kind of get hung up on this. They kind of think it's like, I don't want to say it's like brute forcing it, but they're trying to solve a complex problem. And then once they solve that problem, they're adding another block to the blockchain and they get to verify the transactions until it obviously fills up or until a new block is found, basically.
Okay, so you pretty much just described the technical aspect of it, like where they're pulling transactions from the mempool and they're filling the block and then, trying to. Now, the next thing is actually that creating the hash. That's what you're actually referencing. Like, what is the mining?
Yes.
That's well, pretty much at the current difficulty rate, it's just simply a lottery to create new blocks. And I mean, and there's two main purposes: to permanently add transactions to the blockchain without the permission of any entity, and to fairly distribute the 21 million Bitcoin supply by rewarding new coins to the miners who spend the real world resources to like secure the network. I mean, now it's pretty much just a lottery though, mining. Like every time the ASIC, which is an application specific integrated circuitry based computer, does a computation or a hash, which is just a series of mathematical, it's just like some inputs and outputs. It's not difficult to create a hash. What they're doing is pretty much just casting that to the network as like into the pool, like a rolling the dice, if that makes sense. I mean, it's the difficulty level of this network is so high and so hard right now that there's no way that it's practically like brute force. It has to be, as kind of like you mentioned, because it's requires so many hashes to finally get that particular sum that's required for the algorithm, that it's basically, simply put, it's like a gamble. It's like a lottery. It's like rolling dice. And every time you roll the dice, you're sending a hash. So like an ASIC computer can do X amount of like hashes per second, like 100 terahash per second. Well, if I get a better computer, it just means I'm getting more dice rolls, which gives me a higher probability of actually hitting that number to find the block. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that does. And I think that's a good representation of it. You're kind of trying to add on to the ledger because you're obviously rewarded for that. But yeah, it's basically like a gamble. And I know maybe even if you want to expand on it for our audience, how being part of a pool. So if you have 10 miners and I have 20 miners and we kind of form a pool, we can combine our hashes together in order to get a better chance at winning that pool.
Right. Because let's say miner B over here only has 50 terahash online. Well, that means he gets 50 terahash with the dice rolls at the pool or at the network to try and win the block. Whereas me and you together, we may have a combined hash rate that's let's say add a 0 onto each one of those numbers you said there, and make it like 500 terahash, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now let's say that's 10 times the amount of dice rolls we're throwing at that thing to get that those odds increased, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's an exponential increase by pooling your power together.
Definitely. So I guess I want to keep going into more of what you do. So I want to say it's like nothing short of miraculous what you do in terms of like using Bitcoin miners, which allow natural gas producers to use stranded energy to mine for Bitcoin. I guess my question is it very similar to what Alaimo does? I know he was looking for stranded methane for oil refineries. Are you specifically natural gas, or are you linking up with petroleum producers as well? So yeah, and then I guess what have been some of your biggest challenges and what have been some of your greatest successes in this line of work? So I know there's a couple questions there.
So let's start out with the first question, which was, are we servicing
The
oil and gas?
Yeah.
Or just stranded? We do offer at Midstream, we do offer our services to oil and gas producers. We have a team that reaches out to them and explains how we can assist them in regards to their operations and helping them increase their productivity and their revenue streams. But our other focus and our main focus is stranded gas wells, because this is purely an environmentally friendly approach to Bitcoin mining in its entirety. It's beyond green, where you have solar, wind, hydro, flares. So like the solar, wind, and hydro, they're already green. They're not getting any greener. You have flare gas, which you can reduce the flare, which reduces like the CO2 output. Okay, that's cool. Appreciate that. But like then you have the methane and the stranded gas, which is what we approach at Midstream, and that's 30% more, damaging and detrimental to the environment and the atmosphere than CO2 or anything else out there like that, like CO2 in general. It's that, and there's nothing out there that is going to exchange that for oxygen or anything beneficial to the planet. So the methane just sits out there in the atmosphere and destroys absolutely everything. And there's nothing to regulate that or to pull those numbers down. And so what we do is when we go in there and do a data center on one of these stranded wells that's just venting methane, we cap that and exchange it in an ICE, internal combustion engine, for into CO2, which is actually utilized by the trees to make oxygen for me and you. So, I mean, our approach to mining Bitcoin in that respect, I believe, is almost at the height or the zenith of green technology in regards to the energy sector.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And, I'm a chemical engineer by degree. And what I do for my fiat job is we work at a waste energy company. And so what we do is we take trash and we burn it. So we're quite familiar with, obviously, if you're landfilling trash, there's a lot of methane that comes off it. Yeah, we do have CO2 that comes out of the trash that we do burn, but in any combustion process, that is part of the natural cycle. But yeah, so I have a lot of respect for taking out more methane out of the atmosphere. I know exactly like you said, it's 30 times more potent than the CO2 that you're putting into the atmosphere. So as long as you're getting rid of something that's more hazardous that would naturally vent anyway, and you're using it to convert into something good, securing basically the best computer network in the world and most secure.
Right. Now, No, the other thing is this Bitcoin itself, in regards to what it's capable of, it's you're doing more than just providing, local services. I mean, yeah, where this asset was stranded, you're now generating taxable revenue for the local municipalities. You're creating a job because there's now a technician on site servicing the generator and stuff, and somebody checking out the data center. And so, that's well and good, but also this technology itself has the ability to change the world, not just locally on that level, but everywhere. I mean, think about all the wonderful advancements that we could have seen in the world if the financing was available. Well, like if just like the capital was available, not necessarily the finance, but the financing, but the capital was available to be allocated to those people with those like groundbreaking discoveries, and it wasn't stifled by people with money that were afraid to lose money by getting in the way. Like, if somebody has a new technology that's going to put, let's say, our cell phones, make them look like old antiquated equipment, and it threatens, these individuals and at the top of the communications industry and their production of this and their revenue streams on it. The individual who's coming up with that technology is not going to get very far, unfortunately, because the powers that be are either going to buy him and shut it down, or they're just going to Epstein him pretty much. And well, with Bitcoin, other individuals out there who want to fund research and advancements like that can now do so without worrying about the financial institutions getting in the way at the command of those who are possibly, going to take a loss from that technology or that advancement. Does that make sense?
No, it completely does. And I mean,
So like,
we're seeing that with El Salvador adopting Bitcoin. I mean, they're going to save their country $400 million dollar, or at least dollarized, $400 million that would otherwise be going to Western Union. If I was in Western Union shoes, I would be very nervous. And I think they're just going to be the first shoe to drop. I think
I
legacy
think,
banking is going to be destroyed. I think a lot of
well,
exactly like what you're saying, the
yeah, we're
capitalization of projects and stuff too.
yeah, we're gonna see innovation across the world, unlike we've never seen before in history, because people who have, the best ideas will be able to get them funded now, without fear of, not being able to go on because of capital, because the other individuals out there in the world who may not benefit from that, or who may, let's say, end up being the horse and buggy to the auto, they're not going to be able to get in the way and stifle that. And it's just going to be amazing.
I agree. I completely agree. And even when you're looking at adoption, you're obviously seeing countries that are more impoverished. I'm very fortunate to be in the United States. I'm not sure where you're based out of, but if you look at China and the U.S. are kind of the two global superpowers, and a couple countries in Europe, and that's kind of just the macro trend of it. But you look at Bitcoin's adoption in Africa. I just saw it was like over 1,200% over the last year. So definitely, and then El Salvador's adopting it. Panama's coming out with apparently adopting cryptocurrency. I know the law there seemed more like a cryptocurrency bill than a Bitcoin bill. So we'll see how obviously they fare with trying to do just crypto in general versus a Bitcoin adoption. But I think it's growing a lot faster than most legacy systems and politicians are willing to admit. And if they don't adopt it, they'll be left in the dust. So it's very interesting to see. It's going to be a very interesting cycle, at least even for this cycle has been very interesting, but even going forward into the future for sure.
Oh, absolutely. The game theory aspect of it, like you just mentioned, is that's going to be a sit back with the popcorn gif right there.
Yeah,
It's going to
no,
hit.
I completely agree. And I mean, China's kind of shooting themselves in the foot with leaving miners. I know the CCP has their own agenda and what they're trying to push. Obviously, the United States has their agenda as well. But I really think the countries that are have been impoverished, El Salvador, we're going to see how they work there. I know Iran, there's a lot of miners in that area as well. I think Africa, a lot of people just put them off or don't really give them enough credit, but I think we're going to see a big adoption in Africa as well. I know Nigerian government loves to step in the way and trying to keep banning Bitcoin, but then they keep shooting themselves in the foot by losing the potential revenue. So it's they're like China in that regard, that they ban it for 3 weeks and then adoption grows and then they miss out on the revenue that they would otherwise be getting if they were traditionally in the legacy financial system. So they're even forcing or helping adoption there, which is really funny. And like you said, the game theory. So I guess my next questions were, so obviously you're taking natural gas and converting it into energy for Bitcoin mining. So what have been some of your biggest challenges with doing that?
Okay, so fortunately, I jumped into this with a partner, and he had, I'd say, maybe a couple of years, just started mining Bitcoin on gas himself, and I wanted to do this. I had this idea of utilizing excess energy myself. Actually, I was in another country. Had an idea to do incendiary electric production, taking just refuse, because other parts of the world there's loads of pollution, and was looking to establish an incineration plant that just take all the local pollution and just create electric out of it and mine Bitcoin with it. But then ran into a lot of red tape, and it was basically just capital, boatloads of capital required to clear this red tape, and it wasn't going to be capital that was going to help me in any way. It was all getting pretty much just misappropriated through political channels, and so I decided that that's not going to be a way for me to go. So when I was back over here in the stateside, I was talking to one of my equipment brokers and said, look, I had this idea and it's not gonna fly, and I'm over here in Kentucky, and I wanted, I've been thinking about drilling well or finding well, and he's like, I know a guy who's actually doing something like that, and I was like, well, I need to talk to that guy.
It's funny.
And he's like, well, he's a pretty private individual. He's like, I won't give him or give you his number, but I'll reach out to him and see if if he's interested to talk to you. And so like he reached out to him and got the okay from him to give me some information, and I called him and left him a message, and we played phone tag, and then we ended up talking, and I was like, look, I heard that this is what you're doing, and I want to do that myself. I have similar ideas, and it's just, I believe that this is the future. Like, this is definitely a business model that is absolutely fabulous in regards to the capitalist eyes, but me in regards to like a freedom maximalist and a sovereign, individual who embraces sovereign living. This is off-grid Bitcoin mining. This is the holy grail for me. I'm like, what do we need in order to become partners and grow this operation, and that was one of my challenges. So like, was finding my partner, because what was occurring was I was dealing with network difficulty adjustment increasing in the midst of the bear market, because I started Bitcoin mining in the end of the bull market of last life cycle up, and so that was difficult. And so in order for me to maintain operations and everything and become stay viable, I needed to find alternative energy sources. And so that's when I sought out my partner. It was a huge challenge to find him, and I had to go outside my comfort zone and like ask people for help, like, hey, I'm looking for this, and I need to find it. And I'm not the type of person to do that usually. I'm usually pretty self-sufficient in regards to everything I do. If I don't know how, I'll find a way, and I'm not usually apt to asking right out the gate. But I saw things where they were going in regards to the network, and I knew that is the rate this is growing. It's not going to be possible to stay above water if I don't find better sources of energy, because I wanted to do this full time for like make this my life. And like when I started, I was still working in automation in robotics for e-commerce distribution centers and stuff. So I had to figure out a way that I could scale and get better margins so that I could continue and to do it and actually turn it into, something I do for a living all the time. And so that was the challenge. And well, diligence and persistence and determination, it paid off, I guess. So took all my equipment and bought another gas well with my partner, and we went into business and started working from there. Then a little bit of time went on, and we were doing pretty good. We formed Midstream, which is the current operation that we're running. We bought a couple more wells and more generators and more ASICs, and so we're pretty. We ended up having to hire a CEO now, and his name's Kendrick. He's a pretty good guy, and he keeps me from spending all the money on all the computers.
That's I guess the good CEO, keeping the people that work with him under check and making sure capital allocation is correct. That's awesome. That's a very cool story. I didn't know that. So I know we're kind of getting into the wrap up here. So it's been a pleasure having you on. Thanks, HODL Tarantula, for coming on.
You know what? You did ask me what my biggest success was.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I guess before we wrap up then, I guess what has been your greatest success with, starting Midstream and doing all that so far?
Well, with Midstream, it has been the implementation of the automation equipment that I've been putting on site. I built some more, and I put pictures of it on my Twitter. It's Windows operating system is horrible, and was using that for remote login and stuff for a while, but that is in the past. That's no more. They're absolutely terrible. And so implementing Raspberry 4s with Ubuntu and running the remote monitoring command software on there has been pretty great so far. So that's big success. And let's say in the world of Twitter, my other greatest success is getting banned from Twitter now over 7 times.
Oh my gosh. I know some people, a lot of Bitcoiners have multiple bans on Twitter as well. It's very interesting, but I guess they always keep coming back. So I'm glad you're not banned this time. You're one of my a good follow on Twitter, on Bitcoin Twitter at least. I said, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thanks for coming on the show. I guess have some quick questions before we wrap up. So I guess what's been your biggest investment or business mistake? And I'm not gonna let you cop out like most Bitcoiners and not saying buying Bitcoin sooner. But I guess what's been your biggest mistake in general?
So my biggest mistake in the last, we'll just say, because I like halvings. In the last 2 halvings, my biggest investment mistake was not doing due diligence on Kaka coins out the gate.
Okay.
I literally saw bling 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 and people getting paid, and I was like, oh yeah, I want to be involved with that. And I didn't do my homework on it. I ran in there and I lost like 30%. Like I took a 30% haircut right out the rip. And it was because I didn't do my homework. I didn't do my due diligence. And so if I would have just, did it right, I'd be in a better place right now. By 30% plus 200% compound annual growth after add-on.
Exactly. You're not just comparing against one asset to another. You're comparing against the best asset to all other assets. So yeah.
Right. So like, I hope that was a good answer for you.
No, I appreciate that. I like that. I guess what's been your favorite podcast, YouTube channel, or website that you like to go to? I normally say for investing information, but I guess for finding out information about Bitcoin.
Okay, so well, yeah, I mean, Yeah, because for me, I mean, investing is like securing the network via buying ASIC equipment and Bitcoin hodling through cold storage.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm sure that you have other individuals in your audience out there who might want to have their own thing. But like, so I like the sovereign individual just because that's like, you know, pretty much your crystal ball as it is right now into what's going on and where you should or try to aspire to be in regards to individuality, like for self. The Bitcoin standard is good because if somebody doesn't understand why Bitcoin, that's a good place to start. You know, you get to understand money, then it's pretty much watch out, rabbit hole, here it comes. And then WTF happened in 1971.com. That is great insight into why our money is so screwed up in this system. So I think those are good resources. Oh, and a podcast I like is Bitcoin Audible.
Yeah, with Guy Swan.
Oh, he always has a good rip off, and I like also Tales from the Crypt with Bent and the Citadel Dispatch with my boy Odell. We get down.
Yeah, I highly recommend all those. I actually just finished The Sovereign Individual probably 2 weeks ago. I'm not gonna lie, it's a tough read. There's some parts that drag on, but it's crazy. The book was written in 1997 or 98, and they were right about so much.
It's like a Unix manual for what you should have done up to now.
No, literally. And the crazy thing too is that
Reads
like
boring like that too.
yeah, like I think they linked up with the creators of Family Guy or not Family Guy or no, not Family Guy. The Simpsons, that they were like so right with so many of the predictions, whether it's by coincidence or not. It just seems very crazy with how much they've been right and kind of exactly like you said, like kind of a manual of what you should do and what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's creepy, pretty much the way they talk about digital currency and everything in there.
Yeah, exactly. So once again, HODL Tarantula, thank you so much for your time and for coming on. It's been a pleasure having you on here. So if someone wanted to learn more about your business or where to find you, where would you direct them?
Okay, so Midstream CO on Twitter, and we got. I'm also on Twitter at HODL Tarantula, and I do also Bitcoin mining consulting on CoinBeast.com. You can find me there. And then also our Midstream website, midstream.co.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Like I said, I'm really appreciative that CoinBeast, our sponsor for this podcast, was able to get us in touch, and I was able to get you on this podcast and for sponsoring this podcast as well. So thanks so much, everyone, for listening. Obviously, you can go to the Amateur Investors at squarespace.com for our website. You go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, you name it, we're there. And you can also check out, we're selling merch. So obviously we have t-shirts, mugs, cups. And then obviously if you've got a big stack, a Bitcoin, or at least a decent size stack, which I consider $500 to $1,000 of Bitcoin, definitely consider getting a node. Check out our section for building nodes for Bitcoin. So thanks everyone for listening. Have a good one. Talk to you later.